Hello and welcome to Hearthing. Today we're going to be going over all of the white cards for the new set M21, or core set 21, however you want to refer to it. As you see, it's all the white stuff because we got the good old white planeswalker there. Spoiler, although he's coming up pretty soon because his name starts with a B and this is alphabetical. We're going to be looking at them more so from a standard point of view and then a limited point of view as well, but we'll see. It's more so from standard because that's what I play most often. Also, if you want to see how things go, this is the beginning of the videos. I'm going to be taking part in the early access streamer event coming up, sponsored whatever by Wizards of the Coast. It's going to be on the 24th. I believe that is 8 a.m. Pacific time and 11 Eastern. I know 11 Eastern because I'm on the East Coast, so that's why. So if you want to check that out, feel free. Link in the description below. If you want to check out my Twitch channel. Without further ado, though, let us get into things. And it will bring us to our first kind of rules change. Dog is now a creature type. All cards in the past that were called hounds, they have been errated to be a dog type. So now we officially have magic doggos, and they are all good boys. Now, going forward, we actually have an Alpine Watchdog, 2-mana, 2/2 vigilance. Looking rather stern. It demands you to pet him at this very moment, and if I could, I don't quite reach that far. I don't know. The fourth wall is not allowing me. But anywho, so as far as sealed goes, it's pretty reasonable and it's slightly better than your average bear because it's a dog, and dogs are better than bears in most situations. So yeah, definitely like a 2 out of 5. Like you could say 3 out of 5 maybe if you have any other dog synergies, but otherwise 2 out of 5, just medium card. In standard, this is going to be interesting. There is a card in the multicolored section that actually specifically references this card and can pull it out of the deck. So because of that, if that works out, I mean, despite that card even like potentially working, this is just a decent dog to play if you want to do some kind of dog tribal, which I'm going to try out, by the way, in the early access event, guarantee you. So because of that, I'm gonna make this a 2 out of 5 in standard as well. I feel like there's definitely some potential there, just being able to have it and help generate that card advantage. And you'll see when we get to it, of course, I'm going to multicolored cards last, so that'll be a little while. But anyway, so that's why. If it doesn't see any play, then this guy's going to be kind of like nothing. It's still not bad. A 2-mana 2/2 vigilance is okay, but you usually want a little more bang for your buck. They are trying to push White Weenie a little more, as well as +1/+1 counters and Life Gain, which are all obviously White Weenie and stuff, but they're all kind of white focused. I don't know, not mechanics, but just like gameplay styles. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at here. We're going to be seeing if you have, that sort of synergy, then it's good, but if you don't, then it's not so good, which applies more so to limited, like sealed and draft, because that's, you have a limited card pool there, you don't have as many options, versus constructed, you make the deck that you want to make, and, you can guaranteed have certain synergies. Oh my goodness, that's not the easiest 2 words to put together. Okay, anywho, so 2 out of 5 in both formats, although I'm gonna do my best to make this like a 4 out of 5, really. 5 out of 5, it's already 10 out of 5 because it's a good dog. 4 out of 5 is what I'm gonna say. Alright, moving forward, Angelic Ascension, there we go. It's gonna call it Ancession. I'm like, that's not, the N comes later in the word. Okay, it is a 2-mana instant. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Its controller creates a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. So there are 2 cases you can use this. Use it on your opponent's things, use it on your own things. Or you can use it on nothing. No, you can't do that. No, so there's 2 cases you can use it. If you use it on your own things, then you could potentially use it on like a planeswalker that's already used up its, fulfilled its purpose. For instance, if you have, I don't know, you wouldn't really want to like kill a Teferi off this way, but say you have one of those War of the Spark ones, you already minus it a couple times and it's just not doing too much else, throw this on there and say, hey, I don't really care about your passive anymore, I'm going to turn you into a 4/4 flyer. Okay, make sure you use that as something that's not really doing too much. If you have a wall, some kind of defender for whatever reason, you can go ahead and use this on it to suddenly make an attacker. In the case where you actually are playing an aggressive deck and you want to turn one of your little like 1/1 dudes, or whatever, one of your little guys into an angel, do keep in mind that you're basically using this as a buff card, and it kind of inherits that 2-for-1 that enchantments kind of have. So it's not great. Also, the thing's gonna have summoning sickness unless you do it during your opponent's turn, which is when you should be doing these sorts of things anyway. It can also be a nice little sneaky combat trick if your opponent, I'm gonna attack, okay, I'm just gonna Ascension my little dude here that's tapped, maybe suddenly I have an untapped angel that you're punching into, and I could usually trade that well. So I see that as the preferred solution. Of course, you can still use that on the preferred application, I should say. You can use it on your opponent's things if they really warrant it, but giving your opponent a 4/4 flyer is very much not a good idea in many circumstances. It can definitely be a better situation than you were in before. If your opponent has a Baneslayer, like, okay, well, I'm gonna take it down a notch. Sure. If they have, you know, a 9/9 Krasis in standard, whatever you're trying to deal with, okay, I'm gonna make that a 4/4 flyer instead. If you just can't get around that Planeswalker, you gotta remove it real quick. Okay. But ultimately, as far as this goes for like white removal even, I don't like it. So in limited, I feel like you can probably get away with playing it in your deck. I will give this like I'll give it a 3 out of 5 just because a 4/4 flyer is pretty good, but you do have to remove something, but there's also flyer synergy, so if you can work with that as well, then you're golden. In standard, oh boy, 1 out of 5. It might see some play. There's a chance it will. I don't think aggressive decks really want this, and I don't think that control decks really need this, so I'm just gonna give it a 1 because I'm gonna hedge my bets there, and you know what? That is okay. I mowed the lawn yesterday, so, you know, whatever, hedges and stuff, that relates, right? Anyway, Anointed Chorister, I believe it is. Chorus, yeah, or Chorister, I don't know, he's doing chores. He's like, I gotta pick up all these feathers now, can you please stop shedding? Anyway, who sweeps the church? I don't know. Anyway, so is a 1-mana, 1/1 lifelink. Okay, sure, I don't hate it. And what do we have here? For 5 mana, it gets +3/+3 until the end of turn. So it is a white Brushwag. Gotta love that Brushwag tribal. Anyway, it is also a human cleric, so you can't use that as a little mutate thing, but who's mutating these days? Really? No one? The only thing we see that has mutate is like the Sea Dasher Octopus, just because it has its thing and has because it has flash, whatever. I wouldn't bank on mutating anything. Gem Razor sees a little bit of play, but anyway. So the only, like, ignoring the 5 mana thing there, is decent in limited if you want to have a mana sink later on. Sure, it's not terrible. And if you have that life gain synergy, it's okay. There are certain things that trigger off of you gaining a certain amount of life in the turn. Usually it's 3 life. I don't think there's any. There's some that just says X life. But obviously just attacking with a lifelink creature nearly guarantees you get that life. So you can do that as an early way to kind of guarantee an enabler later on. But aside from that, I really don't like this card much in sealed, not sealed. Yeah. In limited formats. In constructed, the only value it has is that it's a 1-mana 1/1 lifelink, which we already have in, what is it, the I'll say the Lives Bounty and the Healer's Hawk. I don't think this is going to displace either of those two, and I don't think you really want to have like more than 8 of those little dudes. Maybe you do, I don't know, but I don't think going all in on Johnny's Pridemate is really the way to go exactly. I think there are other cards that kind of do a better job of this. There is another one that is a 1-mana 1/1 lifelink with Vigilance further down the line that is much better, that could see play, but this one not gonna be put in any of my decks, just saying. Aven Gagglemaster, that is a wonderful name with wonderful art and not so wonderful in effect, I'm afraid. So 5-mana 4/3 Bird Warrior. Okay, gotta love that. I like how this one, like you see, he's got a sword and shield, and all the other birds in the background just don't. They're just regular birds just flying around. This one's like, I gotcha. And I was like, okay. But anyway, that's okay. If the cuckoos from Legend of Zelda taught me anything, is that don't mess with the birds. Okay. So when it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life for each creature you control with flying. This is like the minimal kind of. This is the scraping the bottom of the barrel for flying synergy. Of course, it does trigger off itself, so it's 5-mana 4/3 minimum gain 2 life. But in limited, you can get away with this because it's a 5-mana 4/3 flyer. It feels pretty bad. Sorry, it feels pretty bad. And you really don't want to do that. You also don't want your voice to crack sometimes, so. But sometimes you do what you gotta do. You just gotta forge your way ahead. Anyway. Okay, so limited, nothing really flashy about this card. I wouldn't count on getting too much life off of it. 1 out of 5, really. If you need you don't have any flyers, sure, put it in your deck, try to do what you can. But otherwise, you should be able to find some other flyers. There's a decent flyer package, I guess, in the set. So there's ways to fulfill that in, that slot in your deck if you're looking for it. In standard, no, it's absolutely not gonna see any play. Get out of here. 0 out of 5. For the honker. Alright, what do we have now? Baneslayer Angel. This is a really big reprint that people were like, oh my god, Baneslayer's back in standard. Oh my goodness. It's okay. Gonna take that down a notch. Oh, by the way, just for the record, M21 is supposed to be the Teferi set, but it's a core set, so they ended up just reprinting a few cards, like, ooh, he's pulling them through time. Ooh! Just like my fingers are turning green a little bit because of the green screens in the background. Anyway, so yeah, you know, Segues, definitely. Everything's connected. So, Baisley Angel, 5-mana, 5/5. Flying, first strike, lifelink, protection from demons and dragons. So, that last line, the protection part, doesn't really matter all that much. There are a few more demons in this set, so there's a slight chance it could become relevant. It's not very likely. Dragons, I don't think we really see any played in Standard right now. I mean, no, and I don't think there's gonna be any new ones. There's like a new Shivan Dragon kind of thing, but it's not really all that exciting. For the most part, like if you get this in limited though, hell yeah, get this thing, grab it if you get to untap with it. Like if you get to attack with this creature once pretty much, you're good. Congratulations, you got it. Alright, this is not exactly Lyra, but it's definitely like up there. I don't actually know which one might be better, but like it's still a fantastic card, and it does a very similar thing. The big thing you want is you got that lifelink, right? A flying lifelink is fantastic. It doesn't have vigilance, unfortunately, which would be like putting it way over the top, but it's still pretty good. Now, as far as limited goes, yeah, it's a huge bomb. It's crazy. In standard, this is more of a sideboard card against aggro, and even then, you might just want to have like blanket removal or other things that kind of help you get some card draw. I don't know if this is the best option. It's still decent, and if the format is already kind of slow, but if it goes away from all the ramp and goes more towards aggro, then this could see some play. Because against like the current ramp decks with, you know, big old Sharknadoes and Euro coming down and Krasis, this doesn't really do a whole lot. Doesn't have protection from any of those. So, you know, yeah, I'm gonna say the strictly sideboard card for standard. 3 out of 5 though. I think someone's definitely gonna give it a shot and put it in the sideboard. And in limited though, 5 out of 5. Like it says it right there in the card, 5 out of 5. Come on. All right, Bastry Cat, look at this. Look, it's the guy. It's the guy. It's the thing. Oh my goodness, he's there, but he's tiny now. All right, so is he tiny or just really far away? Ooh. Anyhow, so it's a 3-mana planeswalker. Starts with 3 loyalty. +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Pretty nice effect. Okay, very Gideon-like thing, protecting a creature. -2, whenever one or more non-token creatures attack this turn, create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. So that's a very white weenie thing as well. You know, you got all your dudes. -2, swing. Now I'm attacking with more. It's like a good way to compare it to something is like a mini Winota almost. Obviously, it's not that, but that's like something that's currently in standard. People see play. Oh, okay, cool. So I attack with these and I just get more dudes for each one. Yeah. -6, the ultimate ability. You get an emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That last ability should be enough to just kind of roll over any control decks. I'm not talking about like friggin' Euro, Krasis, you know, Sultai, Simic, Bant decks. Unfortunately, those are all kind of control that also have big creatures because, you know, Euro's healthy for the game. But, Jesus Christ. But I'm talking about like my favorite Esper control. If you ulti this thing against me, playing Esper control, you probably have a good shot of just winning the game there. Like I might just be like, well, you got me. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to your emblem. Let's see. Now the downside to both the +1 and the -2, aside from like the 3-mana 3 loyalty goes up 1, that's fine. The stats there are all good. But the downside to it is it requires you to have a creature on the board for both the plus and the minus ability. So you can't just play it out on an empty board. You can, but don't expect it to really do all that much. You're losing a lot of value. Even if he survives for a turn or two, you've missed out on a lot. So ideally, you play this in a white weenie deck. This is... I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that it is comparable to the old History of Benalia, back when, you know, that was a card in Standard, and what you would do is you would turn 1 play a 1-drop, like a bodyguard or something, or a little haunted witness. Turn 2 you play a 2-drop. I forget exactly what they were, some knights maybe, whatever. And then turn 3, no, actually no, turn 1 you play 1, turn 2 you play 2 1-drops. That was actually where the meta developed. And then turn 3 you play, in this case, Bastry Cat. In the old days there were a few different 3-drops, either Benalis Marshall or History of Benalia were the big ones that you wanted. Or I guess you could potentially play like a Venerated Luxodon, which is whatever drop, depending on how many creatures you have. So I believe this compares to that, not horribly favorably, unfortunately, but I do like it, and it can definitely fuel aggressive playstyles. So I'm going to put this, I mean, if you get this in limited and you have enough of a fast game and you just get them out super fast, yeah, absolutely. This is going to be like a 4 to 5 limited. Not great because you do need to have a creature on the board, but the fact that you can just keep pumping the creature and eventually it's going to be the biggest creature on the board, right? That's awesome. And in standard, I'm going to say 4 to 5 there as well because I think that they're really trying to push white weenie again in this set, and I think that this can definitely help get it through there. A lot of the dogs are also in white, which are helping that way. And just they have +1/+1 counters and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's going on trying to bring that mono white back, and I think it can happen. Going forward, Basri's Acolyte. Oh, you know, Basri's pretty good, but your Acolyte might need a little bit of work there, buddy. So 4 mana, 2/3 cat cleric. The fact that it's a cat is relevant, but not too much. There's slight cat synergy. There's like a cat lord now, so just saying. Alright, 4 mana, 2/3 lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures you control. If it could target itself and be a 4 mana, 4/5 lifelink, well, that'd be fine. And limited, of course, it'd be like a 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5. That'd be a very nice card to have. The fact that it can't target itself, so it could just be a 4 mana, 2/3 lifelink. That sucks. That's a 0 out of 5. And even if like maybe you only have one creature and you get like essentially like a 3/4 for 4 with lifelink, that's still really bad. So I'll give it a 1 out of 5 on the chance that it might be hit just one creature. If you hit 2 creatures, that's cool. I wish you could hit the same creature twice, and I wish you could hit itself, then it would be great, but unfortunately it's not. In standard, 0 out of 5. Get out of here. The cats, just let the cat out and don't let the cat back in for once. Okay. Basri's Lieutenant. This guy got it right. Okay, cool. It's a 4 mana 3/4. It's rare too, so you know it's gonna be good if it's rare, right? That's how it works. Yeah, color, the rarity dictates the strength of the card. Anyway, so vigilance and protection for multicolored. So think of how annoying it is to kill a Stonecoiled Serpent sometimes. There you go. When this enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. See, it can target itself. It can target anything you have. That's what makes this one so much better. All this had to do was not say other creatures, and it'd be great, but it doesn't, so it's not good. All right. So at the minimum, it's a 4 mana 4/5 vigilance protection thing. Fantastic. That's great. But there's more. But wait, there's more. Whenever Basri's Lieutenant or another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. Fantastic thing. It's like, protection against ward wipes, I guess. It can just leave a body behind if it dies. It's awesome. There's nothing wrong with this card. This is a very nice card. In limited, I'd be happy to say 5 out of 5. I don't see why this wouldn't be a first pick. Because obviously if you have this in your pack, then you didn't get a mythic, but you got this thing, so yeah, first pick this. There are some mythics, there's some other rares, whatever, that are also really first pickable, but if this is your card, I would take it in a heartbeat. In standard, I don't see why this shouldn't see some play. Obviously, it doesn't need, but it benefits very highly off of the +1/+1 counter synergy. So if that actually ends up working, there's a card for like 2 mana where you just end up putting counters on everything. I think it's the next one, actually. It is, huh? If this ends up being good, this ends up being good, vice versa, but this one's already good. This is already like a 3 out of 5 for constructed. Why isn't it 4 out of 5 when, it's a super bomb and limited? Because it's not standard, just has that higher power level. It's just obnoxious. Although protection from multicolor does mean protection from Euro, protection from Teferi, protection from the Krasis. It does cover quite a few bases. And I guess also protection from Mayhem Devil, if that's relevant to you, but not protection from Claim the Firstborn. Well, it's too expensive for Claim the Firstborn, so what am I talking about? Yeah, pretty solid card, actually. And very, very easily main deckable. You know what? I'm going to put up to 4 out of 5 in Constructed. I think that I can definitely get there. And hopefully this one can too. Now, in Limited, I'm going to make this like a 1 out of 5. I don't really think the whole go wide with a little dude strategy will work out. The fact that it's a sorcery also, it's not a combat trick. I mean, if it was an instant, then I would easily put it like a 3 out of 5, but it's not, so I'm not really a huge fan of that. If you have the synergy with the counters, then by all means, grab this and you're good to go. If you got if you're lucky enough and got 1 or more of these guys, then I would play pretty much all these I could, because it's amazing. But if not, then don't really consider it too much there. This is a pretty solid card, though. The only reason I don't know if this is going to see too much play in standard is because of a single card, which I mentioned earlier. Venerated Luxodon is still in standard, which is the elephant thing. It has Convoke. You can tap your creatures to pay the mana cost, and then whatever creatures you tap to get a +1/+1 counter. So not only do you pump your team, but you also put a 4/5. Is it a 4/5 or a 3/4? I forget what the stats are. Maybe just be a 4/4. But you put a creature on the board. So that's a pretty big thing there. I'm pretty sure that's still in standard. I'm gonna do a quick little, I don't know, quickly do things while I'm still recording the video. Okay, venerated, please. Luxodon. Alright, just gonna do a quick little searchy do, and we're gonna figure it out. Yeah, Guilds of Ravnica, absolutely in standard. So, so that's what we got for us now. Not really sure how that plays out with, you know, everything else. Oh, okay, that's a 4/4 though. Oh, cool. All right, figured it out. So that being said, I think this card is pretty good. The fact that it can come down on turn 2 is largely irrelevant. You're not going to do a turn 2 because you're going to 1-drop. Okay, give it a counter now. So later on is definitely nice. It's nice that you can just like fit this in and still attack with your creatures, whereas Luxodon was like kind of a slower card in that sense, but usually the slower thing paid off well. So I think this will probably see 0 play. In standard, I'll give it like a 1 out of 5. I think Luxodon, if the counter synergy actually works out, I think the Luxodon is just going to overshadow this card by a long shot. Alright, Celestial Enforcer. This card is trash and you should feel bad for playing it. 3 mana 2/3 conditional tapper, and you have to pay 1 and a white and tap this in order to tap the creature instead of just paying 1 or just tapping this thing. You need to have a flyer. It's very difficult to make sure you fulfill this requirement. It's horrible. 0 out of 5 both ways. Goodbye. Concordia Pegasus, 2 mana 1/3 flyer. In standard, 0 out of 5. We have better flyers, even flyers decks, you know, have better flyers. In limited, it's okay, like a 1 out of 5, you know, 2 out of 5. Sometimes you need a flyer that can just kind of keep on poking somebody in the air. You know, decent if you want to just try to throw some things at it. And it's an early game, like, kind of blocker, you know, for a few things, so it's okay. It's not great. Don't, like, you know, snatch pick this. Oh my god, I love this card, it's so good, you know, but it's fine. Ah, Containment Priest. This is a reprint of that. I think now means that this is in modern and by default, I don't know. By association, whatever it is. Pioneer as well. 2 mana 2/2 flash. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. That is a very interesting line. So let's analyze that. Obviously, first off, it has to be a non-token creature. So sure, it has to be an actual, like, you know, card, right? Now, it says if it wasn't cast. Things that are cast are Euro when they're escaping. Anything that escapes is being cast. So unfortunately, it doesn't stop that. What else there? It wouldn't, obviously doesn't work against Sharknado because it's a token and doesn't work with tokens. It does, however, affect, let's see, Cat. the Cauldron Familiar, because it's just using its ability to come back to the battlefield. If you have any sort of reanimation effects, where you're putting a creature into the battlefield due to this other spell going off, then it definitely will shut that down as well. We don't have too many of those right now. If Reanimator becomes a thing, they're kind of pushing a bit of a discard mechanic as well in this set, which is a little strange. This might be not just a somewhat needed reprint for older formats, but also could be working towards countering like the next set coming out in the future. There might be some more reanimation stuff going on there. So we'll see if that's relevant. Otherwise, it's okay. You could sideboard this in against cats. Baseline though, like for limited, it's like a 3 out of 5. It's 2.5 out of 5 because it's basically just a bear. There's a flashy bear. Cool. And for the record, a bear is a 2 mana 2/2. And in standard, it's cool. I'm definitely gonna see some sideboard play. I imagine this is a very good card to go against cats, because even if they, you know, whatever they do, it's gonna get exiled. It's not like you're trying to chase it around because like, oh, okay, no, I'm gonna sack this and put it back in the graveyard. No, and I'm gonna put it back on the board, and like, oh my god, where is it now? So, you know, that's a huge pain in the ass where you gotta try to chase the cat. Have you ever chased a cat? It can be tricky sometimes. Okay. Did I say that? Yeah, so yeah, I already said limited. Standard, 2 out of 5. We already have a decent number of sideboard options against cats, so although this might be a very, very good one, it also dies easily to the same decks, so we'll see. Daybreak Charger, 2 mana 3/1. When Daybreak Charger enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. This is a very strong effect. The fact that this thing gives that kind of buff is actually really, really nice. I did watch a couple reviews before to kind of figure out what was going on. Although I did get some ideas in my head from them, like, well, yeah, I have a good point there. So sorry if I'm parroting things from other people. However, this a little hand fart there. That's lovely. However, this was kind of like a similar to Rimrock Knight, but it's in one card basically. You pay 2 mana, you get the buff on something else right away, and also you have a 3/1 body behind. This is fairly nice. In limited, this can usually trade up, not just having something else that's buff that can swing in. If you just do more damage and you're aggressive, awesome. But this can usually trade up into your opponent's 3-drop, potentially 4-drop if they pick some bad cards. I don't know. The 1 toughness is not great, but you can usually make your opponent, like, not attack with some of their stronger creatures for threat of this thing getting in there, or it's good for double blocking as well. So I actually really like this in limited. Yeah, so I'm gonna put that like a 3 out of 5 limited. In standard, I think this could actually see some really good play too. Again, they're pushing that white aggro, the mono white aggro. So in that sense, 3 out of 5 there too. I think this is a very, very serious card, not to be underestimated. And I'll probably make. I'm gonna try to make a mono white deck, I guess, in the early access event now too, because why not? Going forward, Defiant Strike. This thing. Oh, look at that reprint. Just for 1 white, you can draw a card, and thing gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So they did reprint a few, or this print. I don't know, reprint, print, whatever. There are a few prowess cards in the set as well, and obviously that benefits from this sort of thing. Feather. We don't see Feather seeing any play at all, really. And when it did see some play, this was kind of in there, but these cards are still both in standard and see 0 play. So for that reason, 0 out of 5 in both formats. If you have a lot of prowess, maybe you throw it in there in your limited deck, but otherwise, don't. I could easily see this card being passed as like the last thing in a pack. Like, here you go, you have to take this one because you have to. You took the land? Yeah, I thought the land art was nice, but this is, yeah. Anyway, yeah, pretty bad. Okay, dub. Oh, look at that, 3 mana aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+zoo, +2/+zoo. Yes, you earn a zoo as your toughness. Has first strike and is a knight in addition to its other types. That last part doesn't really matter too much. It did matter previously. I mean, you do have whatchamacallit. Well, you have Mardu Knights right now. There's like a Knight Tribal thing available in standard. However, you don't usually include cards that aren't Knights and then make them Knights afterwards. So not really relevant there. The +2/+2 in first strike, though, it is very nice. It is very easy to take this and put it in your limited deck, and suddenly your 1 creature is now a house, and your opponent just can't get through it. And then you just start attacking, and they either have to jump block a bunch of times or whatever, and it just warrants an answer. In constructed, 0 out of 5. It's not worth a damn thing. There are much better cards to use, and it's just an enchantment, which inherently lets you 2-for-1 yourself, which is not good. But in limited, where removal is not as often seen, it's harder to come by, yeah, I could see this seeing some play. Faith's Fetters. Now, this is something that has gotten a little bit of controversy. So it is a 4 mana aura. You enchant permanent. Permanent. Okay. Enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. Cool, okay, a little protection against aggro, a little cushioning there. For the cushioning, whatever you want to call it. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So obviously, this is like a super pacifism. You lock down a creature, can't do a damn thing, and you gain some life. Cool. For that reason alone, it's possible this actually sees some sideboard play against like aggro decks in standard. It's actually possible. For that reason, I'm going to say it's like a 2 out of 5 in standard. I'm not going to go beyond that, but I'm going to say 2 out of 5 in standard. In addition to that, the fact that this has enchant permanent, not just enchant creature, means you can shut down planeswalkers. You can shut down omens if you want to shut down like an artifact that has an artifact or enchantment that has an activated ability. Certainly, you can do that. I mean, you can shut down ovens, I guess, but it's a little late for mana to shut down an oven. Whatever. What is also relevant, although somewhat overlooked quite often, you can shut down land. Not just like Blast Zone, which is also a card that sees some play, but you can shut down like a Castle Vantress if your opponent's going to use that to kind of go crazy. Castle Ardenvale if they're trying to make a bunch of 1/1s. Not very likely, but you could do that. So the fact that this has the utility to shut down pretty much anything, basically anything unless it has like a constant effect, then yeah, I think this card is great. In limited, obviously any kind of pacifism effects like this are amazing. So for that reason alone, this is like a 5 out of 5, just because your biggest thing is now nothing in a game life. In Constructed, I already said it's like a 2 out of 5 because it can see some potential there, but we already have like Prison Realm, which sees no play, and Conclave Tribunal doesn't really see very much either. So because of that, I don't really think it's going to do a whole lot, but the fact that it can do more, don't sleep on this card is what I'm trying to say, but 2 out of 5 for that. Okay, Falconer Adept. 4 mana 2/3, whenever Falconer Adept, is it Falconer? Falconer? I don't know. Attacks, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking. Constructed 0 out of 5, just not worth it. But in limited, yeah, it's not too bad. The downside to this is if you play it as a 4 mana 2/3, and then you attack, and your opponent blocks this with like a 3/3, and you get your 1/1 through, okay, sure. So you effectively played a 4 mana 1/1. That feels really bad. That feels so bad. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it as like a 1 out of 5. I'm not really a big fan of this thing. And limited, sure, if they somehow can't block this, if you manage to buff this, then you can just keep attacking, and it attacks for 3 every turn nearly. And you get an army in the air, which is cool, but otherwise, no. So yeah, 1 out of 5, because 4 mana for a 2/3, just off the bat there, not fun times. Okay, Feat of Resistance, a 2 mana instant to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. If this was 1 mana, I would say yeah, absolutely go for it. But this is not 1 mana. You know what is 1 mana? God's Willing is 1 mana. Karamesh's Blessing is 1 mana. We see almost no play from those two. I mean, Karamesh's Blessing obviously is seeing play in the Selesnya, like Constellation Enchantments deck. However, that deck doesn't really see that much play anyway, because it's not really a top tier deck at all. So, not really a huge fan of that. And God's Willing again does not see any play, and that is basically a better version of this. Unless your +1/+1 counter synergy is through the roof, and this is just gonna blow out the whole sky and everything, don't bother with this card. There's a reason why it's common. It's not all that great. It's a neat little trick. You could probably play it as like a 1-for-1 sort of thing, where limited, where you protect your creature from your opponents, whatever, and then you hopefully win the trade, or they just kind of bounce off you and you absorb the damage. But it's not all that great. So yeah, I mean, in limited, 1 out of 5, and constructed, good old nothing. Alright, Gale Swooper, 4 mana 3/2 flyer. Enters the battlefield, target creature gains flying until end of turn. Constructed, 0 out of 5, big old nope out of 5. And in limited, yes, in limited, it's not too bad. A 4 mana 3/2 flyer is okay. It can be dealt with. Shock is reprinted in the set, so be aware of that. But it's not the worst thing in the world. If you need to get that last little bit of damage in there, or maybe you don't really use it to Alpha Strike exactly, but still, sometimes your opponent's like sitting pretty at like 10 health or so, and suddenly you attack them for like, you have like a 5/5. Now they're at 5. Oh geez, now they just can't really apply any pressure to you. They're on full defense. Meanwhile, this thing's just threatening to, get them on a 2-turn clock. That's pretty nice. I'd say pretty much like a 2 out of 5, maybe even a 3 out of 5 in limited. Like I said, standard, get out of here. Moving on. Glorious Anthem is a card that I have seen divide people. A 3 mana enchantment, creature to control, get +1/+1. So you know how I compared Basri Ket, that guy, to History of Benalia earlier? This is definitely not History of Benalia. This is not History of Benalia, because that put creatures on the board. Sure, you can argue that, well, it put a 2/2 knight, and, it was still summoning 6, so the turn you play this, you probably buff, 2 dudes, +2/+2, is the same damage, right? It's close to it. It's not, I'm not going to say this is as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. I feel like this is a very, very solid card that can help put your creatures out of range of some removal. Notably, like Flame Sweep. What else there? Shock, obviously. I mean, of course, 1/1s just go to 2/2s and they still die, but if you have a little more power, a little more toughness rather behind you, then you'll be okay. Or if you stack Glorious Anthems, then you're winning more. But that isn't really too bad. I could potentially see a deck where you just have these in like Castle Ardenvales and Control, and it's like, hey, guess what? My tokens are actually like 3/3s now because I have a few of these on the board. And just to speed up that clock. But there's probably a better way to do that. There's probably a better way to get a similar result. In limited, I feel like this is a pretty solid card. I'm going to put this at a 3 out of 5 limited. People are going to disagree with me, and I am prepared to meet that disagreement. Head on. I accept this, because that's the spirit of the internet, right? But in standard, I'm going to say 2 out of 5. I think I said Bashery was like a 3 or 4 out of 5. I'm going to put this right below Bashery, where I don't think it's pushed enough to really see that playable level, but it could be like a 1 or 2 of sometimes. It's tough, because you're trying to buff things. You're trying to make your board scarier without playing creatures in that turn. And for an aggro deck, you really want your turn 1, 2, 3 to be as aggressive as possible, as much as like, I'm going to hit you in the face so much right now, so that when they finally stabilize, they're at like 2 life and they just can't block you, and they never stabilize, basically. So yeah, for that reason, 2 out of 5 there. I'll try. I'll see. I might make 2 different White Weenie decks, one with, one without. We'll see which one performs better. Pardon me. Apparently I swallow a lot of air while I'm talking, which is air coming out. So I guess a lot of air has to come back in. I don't know. Science. Maybe I can swallow some water to counteract the air. Alright. Griffin Airy is a, speaking of air, a 2-minute enchantment at the beginning of your end step. We see the first life gain payoff card. If you gained 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white, I don't know, Griffin creature token with flying. It's okay. I don't really like this card. I don't think that even if you had the life gain, this is a really good payoff. I'm gonna go ahead and say constructed 0, limited 1. Maybe you have some life gain stuff. Maybe you have some life linkers and you attack, and occasionally you make a 2/2 flyer. Not even 1. Like, this could be like maybe my last pick. I don't know. And it's uncommon as well. Ugh, I don't like that at all. 0 out of 5, both formats. It's a cute little card. Look at this. The Griffins, they have their little Griffin babies, whatever, at the top of the tower, and then they protect the castle because the babies are there. Oh, little chicks. Okay, lovely. Idol of Endurance. This is a confusing card, not gonna lie. This is one that's difficult to evaluate, which I don't know. Okay, 3 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, so on ECB, exile all creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until Idol of Endurance leaves the battlefield. So it just does it when it enters. Anything that goes into the battlefield after that does not count towards the second effect. You can pay 1 and a white and tap it. Until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards exiled with Idol of Endurance without paying its mana cost. So you get to replay cheaper things for free, but at the same time, they have to be lower costed. At first, I didn't really realize that it had to be 3 or less, and I was like, oh my goodness, you just mill some cards, you play this, suddenly you reanimate a huge thing. No, you're gonna reanimate the little guy, and the little guy is not gonna be all that impressive because it's a little guy, little guy, you know? There aren't too many little guys that really make such a big impact. So for that reason, I am going to go ahead and say this isn't Lurrus. You already have Lurrus if you want to play it and put it in your hand and then get it later on, and then you have to discard it because of agonizing remorse and whatever, or whatever. This is like fixed Lurrus, which feels really bad. So for that reason, I'm gonna go ahead and say 0 out of 5 both ways. I don't like this card at all. I feel like this is just not that good. You can try to get some weird tap untap synergy, like, you know, some cards that let you untap artifacts in the same turn. And sure, that's nice. But this also isn't a great way to like suddenly refill your board afterwards. You might think it could be, but at that point, when you have so many creatures in the graveyard, you should either just have a Castle Ardenvale and start making 1/1s, or you probably don't have much hope because it's against a control deck if it's going on that long, and the longer the game goes, the more favored they are to win. This isn't really going to put you back in there, is it? Okay. Moving forward, Legion's Judgment. 3-mana sorcery speed, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Yeah, you can put like 1 of these in your limited deck, but I wouldn't do more than that. So for that reason, 1 out of 5. I can say 2 out of 5 because it is removal. In standard, 0 out of 5. Alrighty, Light of Promise, 3 mana enchant creature, and it gets whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. I'm gonna say 0 out of 5 both formats here. The fact that you pay 3 mana, and unless you have the synergies, it does nothing. Like, if it gave it lifelink, I can understand, okay, cool, lifelink, then it goes, and then it would like just scale the double each turn. I was like, oh my god, that's insane. Even if it said whenever you gain life, put 1 counter on this creature. Okay, I'll give it some credit for that. It'd probably be like a 1 out of 5 for limited. But as it stands right now, 0. Zilcho. Just play Johnny's Pridemate. if you want to get this effect to go off. That's it. If you want a similar idea. Makeshift Battalion. Or just play that weird avatar thing where you can swap your life total with with its power, and it has lifelink already. Ayara? I don't know, whatever the hell it's called. Anyway, 3 mana, 3/2, whenever Makeshift Battalion, and at least 2 other creatures attack, put up a summons on counter on Makeshift Battalion. It's not terrible. I'd say in limited this is actually pretty reasonable. In constructed this might actually see play as well, because you know you just play your creatures, and it's going to be turn 1 play 1 drop, turn 2 play 2 1-drops, turn 3 maybe you play this thing. It's not going to have haste, but you can set it up to your weight. Like, imagine this is very, very bad comparison for an Embercleave, but you know how sometimes you hold creatures back so you can attack and then equip the Embercleave, versus you keep attacking and you lose some guys and suddenly now you can't play your Embercleave because it costs more, because you know. So I could see holding back, like attacking maybe 1 turn if you have to have this come out and then be a 4/3 on the attack. Maybe they block this thing instead and your other guys get through. This is a very real card. For that reason, I'm gonna say limited 3 out of 5, constructed 2 out of 5. I think this could see some play there. I think there is some potential. Mangara the Diplomat. Apparently this is like not a reprint, but there's been another Mangara previously with the same another one of these guys, and cool, I guess. Cool story, bro. Anyway, 4 mana 2/4 with lifelink whenever an opponent attacks, with also some mythic, so you know that's cool. Little orange kind of coloration over there. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. And whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. So this is interesting. In limited, a 3 mana 2/4 lifelinker is okay. It helps greatly with any sort of life gain synergies you might have. Hopefully you're not trying to do that, because I don't think that's really going to be a viable deck in limited format. In standard, I think this is a very good sideboard card against aggressive decks, because suddenly they have to only attack you with 1 dude, or you draw cards. Hopefully you draw answers. This is not just a 1 mana, not a 1 mana obviously, but it's not a 1 card answer to aggro. This is 1 card that helps you to find another answer to aggro that can help you maybe stabilize and get through your deck a little more. Like, you know, putting in Revitalize against mono red. Just playing 1 Revitalize doesn't win you the game, but hopefully it gets you to a card that can wipe the board, that can help you win the game then at that point. So for that reason, this card's okay. I think I'm going to put this like a 3 out of 5 in standard. I think this is definitely 100% sideboard card. I don't know why you would main deck this card, but definitely a good card there. And in limited, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say 4 out of 5. They don't want to attack with 1 thing sometimes because it's got a decent body. Maybe you just block and, you know, or if they do only attack with 1 thing, you could probably either chump block a few times or just set up some favorable trades. So I think it's better in limited because there's, you know, more creatures doing whatever, I guess. But in standard, not as good. Keep it in the sideboard. Keep it on the side, you know. 9 lives. Oh my goodness. Look at this cat, though. The artwork, it's so nice. I believe the artist actually uploaded a template or whatever on Reddit without the, you know, particular cat in the center, so people could Photoshop their own cats in there and everything. Oh my god, it's adorable. Anywho, 3 mana enchantment. It has hexproof. If a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage and put an incarnation counter on 9 lives. When there are 9 or more incarnation counters on 9 lives, you exile it, and then when this thing leaves, you leave because you die. So very, very thematic, good on flavor. Yeah, you use up all your 9 lives and you're dead. Obviously, this is bad if someone has a way to just do a bunch of little chip damage to you, so if they're playing something like Cavalcade, which kind of fell out of favor, it's not really seeing too much play there, then this is going to save you, this is going to get you like maybe 1 extra attack phase, maybe, because a lot of those things, ding 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 ding, each little instant of damage adds a counter to this thing. Keep in mind, this does not keep you from losing the game by other ways. You can still deck out. You can still lose to some other win the game trigger from your opponent. This doesn't make you indestructible. It just means that they had to, you know, it's just another way to lose, basically. It can also get hit by, what, Farika's Libation, Planar Cleansing can hit this card. If, for whatever reason, I mean, there's some ways to remove hexproof from permanents, I believe. So, if this gets bounced or something that way, that sucks. If your opponent has Doom Foretold and you're supposed to sacrifice this card, yeah, you're gonna die. So I love the artwork, I love the flavor behind it, I don't love the rest of it. I guess it's good if you're trying to go against an opponent that has like just one big creature and they have to attack you a bunch of times. But otherwise, no. No, don't get confused and think this is going to save you so much. That being said, 2 out of 5 limited. No. And constructed as well. In limited, you could probably kind of sort of get away with it and just like get an extra little buffer there. And it's like, okay, I'll just take that damage this time. But this is actually like a secondary thing. No, limited 0 out of 5, get out of here. Constructed 2 out of 5. There we go. I found it. I figured it out. Okay, I cracked the code. Reason being, you can play more around certain things, and you can try to make your opponent narrow in on certain things. You can have a lot of, you know, wide spread removal, and then, oh, but my opponent has one big creature. Cool. You have to hit me a bunch, otherwise it's not going to matter. So you can gear your deck towards facing a certain type of threat. Okay. Oh, look at this doggo. This is like the best of the best doggos. Look at him. Oh my goodness. And you can have this guy as a pet if you buy the bundles or whatever in MTG Arena. I don't know. Just saying. Just so you know. Alright, so for 2 mana, you get a 2/2 dog. With other dogs you control, get +1/+1. So it has that Lord effect. For those of you that aren't familiar, Lord effects are just, you know, other things of this type get +1/+1. That's just an aura thingy. Anyway, whenever pack leader attacks, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn to dogs you control. That is a very, very strong effect. The fact that it also protects itself is amazing. So this alone makes like dog aggro a deck, which is very, very strange to say. But this card is fantastic, even if you just have it on its own. Just a single 2 mana 2/2, does not take combat damage when it attacks. I love it. 4 out of 5 in limited. It's not going to win you the game on its own, but the fact that there's also other dogs it can incidentally buff and make indestructible, basically. Yeah, I think this is fantastic. Am I overrating it? Yes. Do I care? No. In constructed, in the world where you make the deck yourself, the fact that it's not limited makes this also a 4 out of 5 there too. Yep, that's it. I'm sticking with it. I don't want to think too much more because, you know, my head is a thing. Hey, here's a dog. Talking about dogs, here's a dog. 5 mana 3/4. Rambunctious Mutt. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment opponent controls. Sure, nothing wrong with that. That's reasonable. In constructed, 0 out of 5 because we have other things that just do that same effect that are kind of better. I don't think that the dog tribe is going to be pushed that much that you really want to play this card. But if you really want to go all out, then by all means. Pardon me, go ahead, throw this in your sideboard. And just keep the dogs alive. Just keep the dogs rolling. If you would like in limited to play this card, which, okay, I don't really know how many... I don't think there's that many threats that this thing can remove, so consider that. I would put this as like a 1 out of 5 in limited. Just 5 mana 3/4 feels really bad. Even if it is a dog. Oh, Revitalize is back! So, straight off, just say limited, you get some card draw and a little life gain. If you have life gain synergies, I would put this as like a 2 out of 5, otherwise just 1 out of 5. It's not that great if you have the combination with it, but if you don't have anything to combo with it, it's pretty bad. In standard, this takes me back to when Esper was actually a deck, because right now it's really not a deck anymore. Unfortunately, I'm going to try though, because I love Esper. Esper is like my jam, right? So... this was the card where you initially you had like 4 copies of it, right? And then as the metagame, as the decks got more refined, this was the card you cut to put other cards in the deck. So because of that, I'm gonna put it at just a solid like 2 out of 5. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna like this card and I'm gonna put it in there, but like I said before, like with other things, this will be a card, this will like be one of your first cuts when you want to try a new card out. Okay, sure. I'll just take out a Revitalize and put in this other like new thing. So that's why. It's not bad at all. And the fact that it heals you for 3 and a lot of the life gain things, say when you gain 3 or more life this turn, do this, is really very, very relevant. So it can be a single like activator for that. But beyond that, meh. 2 out of 5. Okay, Ruined Halo. Now this is another card that has seen... I don't know, that has gotten quite a bit of talk, seen some discussion around it. So it costs 2 white specifically, very kind of relevant, knowing that you know. I mean, I guess it gives you devotion if you're doing anything with with what's her name? Oh, what's his name actually? I'm gonna say Aatrox. No, I'm not. Whatever. You know, Heliod or Heliod. Anyhow, as it enters the battlefield, choose a card name. You have protection from the chosen card name. Worth noting, you have protection, not your creatures, not permanents you control. You do. So if you, I don't know, if your opponent has an Anax and you're like, oh no, Anax is doing things. Player in Halo, call Anax. Now suddenly this guy that might be like an 8-4 or whatever, or 8-3, whatever his toughness is, you know. Cool, he can't hit you. So don't block, because otherwise, you know, he's going to kill your creatures most likely. But everything else can still hit you. So I'm not entirely certain what you want to put this in against. Like, if your opponent is really going hard on having like 1 or 2 win cons, sure, you can go with that. And you have protection from whatever, so they can't target you with, like, you know, certain spells and abilities. They can't ping you at all. If you call like shock, they can't shoot you in the face. But beyond that, like, if you want to, oh, you know what this is good against though, potentially, is Reclamation, because they can't, you can just call Expansion Explosion, and suddenly they can't shoot you. Can't even make you draw cards and have your deck out that way. So there is value there, but beyond that, it's gonna be tough to have this card see play. I'm not really huge on that. In limited, I'm gonna put this at a 1 out of 5. Sure, you can make one of your opponent's creatures basically useless, but it's still a blocker. It can still kill your creatures. It just can't hit you in the face. So not really, like, this is not pacifism. I prefer pacifism, honestly, in limited. In standard, boy, I'm gonna say 1 out of 5 there. I really don't think this card is living up to all the hype that people gave it. It's cool. It's neat. I like it. It'll help against Reclamation decks. But otherwise, there's usually multiple threats. Like, you can call Euro, sure, I'm gonna punch you with a Krasis. Or with a giant shark. It's... meh. Okay. Oh, look at this! A Sanctum! Which is also a shrine. So, back in the day, I think it was some variety of Kamigawa, there was a cycle of shrines. There was 1 shrine printed for each color. They were all legendary, very similar to what we're doing here. And they each had a scaling effect based on how many shrines you controlled. So very, you know, similar stuff going on here. Is really cool that they're adding to it. So for the white one, we have Sanctum of Tranquil Light. For 1 white mana, you can pay 6, tap a creature. But this ability costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control. And at the end of each one, they added a nice little haiku there, because, you know, nice little 575, little something, little nice little flavor text. Anyway, I think this is actually really nice. Now, of course, it costs 6. The most shrines you can have, barring, you know, in standard, barring some shenanigans where you somehow make them not legendary through like some kind of, you animate it with a, you make it a creature and then you use Spark Double so it's not legendary, and then just whatever, you know, it's some nonsense. I'm sure you can do it. Ask Ali and Trousie, you'll find a way. But, or Noxious too. But barring that sort of jank, the most you're gonna have is 6, which is gonna be, you know, pay 1, tap a creature, which is really nice, having this on just a little thing on the side. The fact that it also only costs 1 to play means that shrine decks are going to love this thing, because it's a very cheap, easy thing to just throw out there if you happen to have extra mana, or just play it turn 1 because you might not have any other plays. I don't know if shrine decks are actually going to be a thing. That's going to be that is yet to be seen. But as far as shrines go, this is like top tier shrinage. Shriners, yeah, I love this card. Endorsed by Shriners, right? Totally. What? Who knows? Okay. But let's see. In limited, I will say pretty much a 0 out of 5. I mean, baseline it costs 5 mana because it does reduce itself to tap a creature. But I don't think this is good. No. Because then if you're doing that, you're gonna want to play all the shrines you get, but if you get multiples of the same ones, they're dead in hand. No. In constructed, I'm just gonna 4 out of 5. I like it. You know what? It's a great card because it's the best shrine that I can see right now, and it just does so much for so little, and it helps protect you and life and this and that. Yeah. Okay. Moving forward, Seasoned Hallowblade. It's not a hollow blade. The blade is very solid, but it's hallowed as well. So 2 mana, 3/1. But you can discard a card and tap this thing. It gains indestructible to the end of turn. So it's similar to Stabby Vampire Dude, Oh man, I forget. Adonto Vanguard. There we go. It's like, I don't know, he's killing a dinosaur. He's cool. But anywho, instead of paying life, you discard a card, which might seem bad at first. But like I said, there's some weird discard like theme going on. I don't know why they're trying to push like discarding cards as being a thing now, unless they're gonna have more things playing from the graveyard in the future, or if they're gonna have some sort of madness stuff going on. Who knows? But the fact that this can discard, there's only 2 mana, so it's pretty cheap. It can just discard as a cost without any mana attached to it, means you can just dump whatever card you want to for free, basically. So, and also, it getting indestructible isn't really too bad. As far as it just being like an aggressive card, I don't love it. I think maybe you could see it in like some kind of Azorius deck. Azorius just being to counteract the discard, but as far as it just going in an aggressive deck, like just mono white, I don't really see it there. In limited, I think it could see some play. I think it could be like a, I'm gonna put it like a 2.5 out of 5. I think it's better than your average bear, but it's not that great, and you're not gonna have any discard synergy. In constructed, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 though. I think that there's some potential here. I don't think Reanimator is really gonna be a thing. It isn't right now. I don't see why any cards in the set coming up are gonna change it, but I think there's something going on with this guy. I want to believe that there's more to this thing than meets the eye. Secure the scene. 5 mana, exile target non-land permanent. Its controller makes a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So it's not making a giant angel, just making a little dude. Cool. That I can get behind. In standard, 0 to 5. It costs 5 mana sorcery. It's not going to see any play there. It's a single thing removal. In limited, it's really not very good. There is, you know, a standard for having a 5 mana exile target permanent, or target non-land permanent, whatever, across like magic. Usually, I think like Blinding Light was another one, but I think that was an instant speed. This being a sorcery speed, and it gives your opponent a 1/1, makes it really, really not that great. It's fine if you don't have any other removal. Go ahead, pick this up, go for it, live your best life, win some games, turn your opponent's big giant, you know, Baneslayer Angel into a 1/1 soldier. Go for it, but or turn their Planeswalker into a little dude. But otherwise, I wouldn't like snap pick this thing immediately. It's expensive and it's slow, so for that reason, I'm gonna say like 2 out of 5. Moving on. Oh, look at this! Oh my goodness! See, this dog comes with a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that you see this dog. It's a wonderful, happy-go-lucky, just joyous boy. It's one of the goodest boys out there, really. But his effect is you have to sacrifice it. And I don't know if I could bring myself to do it, honestly. Anyway, 1 mana, 1/1 Selfless Savior. You can sacrifice this thing. Another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. So on a serious note, in limited, I would put this pretty high up there, like a 3 out of 5. In constructed, I'd say even like a 4 out of 5. I think we recall there was some sort of bodyguard, I believe. I don't know if it was Selfless Bodyguard or just Good Bodyguard of Goodness, whatever it was called. It was a cheap thing that you would see a very early drop in mono white, where you had to target a creature on the battlefield and you could sacrifice this to give that indestructible, but you had to target it when you cast the creature, so you always knew that this thing had the potential to be indestructible, whereas this thing, you can protect something later on. Doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to declare it as soon as you summon this card, if that makes any sense. So it's much more flexible in that sense. And that's a very, very nice thing. Also, the fact that it's a dog, you can get buffed by the other dog things. There's dog synergies, there's dogs. Oh, and the flavor text is kind of like, oh my goodness, the feels. So, yeah, I mean, oh, geez. You know what? For the flavor text alone, 5 out of 5. Just, it's up there. It's a great card, and you love it, and it's fantastic, and everyone should have one. Okay. Siege Striker, 3 mana, 1/1, double strike. Well, that's not worth it. Whenever it attacks, you may tap any number of untapped creatures you control. It gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature tapped this way. Keep in mind, it's only when it attacks, so it can't defend worth a damn. Unless you buff it somehow. Throw a dub on this thing, whatever, that already has double strikes. Why are you giving it first strike? I don't know. It's nice. It's kind of like a pseudo-exalted effect. Pardon me there. Like keeping your other creatures back and attacking with this one. And it's going to be very difficult for your opponent to block it if you have, like, you know, 3 other guys. Suddenly, hey, it's a 4/4 double strike. Pardon me. But it's still possible. My goodness, I think I have the hiccups now. Oh, water, please, save me. Plain. Anyway. Constructed 0 out of 5, get out of here. In limited, I don't think this card's really worth what it could potentially be. Like, you see the upside, oh my god, I can make this into a 4/4/5/5 double strike. Keep in mind, there is no trample. I know a lot of people, including myself, might just associate double strike with trample because of Embercleave, specifically, but there's no trample here. So, sure, you attack with your one guy, you tap all your other dudes, block, oh, all your things are tapped, attack. You know, and it's like, oh, that really feels bad now, I wish I didn't do that. So for that reason, like 1 out of 5 limited, 0 out of 5 constructed. Speaker of the Heavens, remember at the very beginning when there was like the chorus dude with the feathers? I was like, how do I clean all these feathers? And he was 1 mana, 1/1 lifelink. This is like his big brother or whatever, I don't know. This is like him all grown up. So 1 mana, 1/1 vigilance lifelink. You can tap it to create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. And you can only do that when you have, let's see, at least 7 more life than your starting life total, which they learned after printing Sarah Ascendant, which just said when you have at least like 25 life, and it's like, I'm playing Commander, so I already have more life, or is it 30, whatever, it was automatically triggered, and it's a freaking 1 mana 5/5, right? But anyhow, so this, it just fixes that. Let's see, activate this only anytime you can cast a sorcery. This card, if life gain is good, this card is amazing, and 7 just means you're going to be at 27 basically for standard. There's the Ajani that makes the Pride Mace that also has the 0 mana ability where you basically win the game if you have 15 life more than your starting total, which a lot of people, and I've tried a little bit, you can get close to that, but it's very difficult to actually hit that mark. But I feel like having 7 more life is fairly reasonable. I think that's a very, very easy, very doable thing to do. Unless you're playing as an aggro deck. Even then, having a 1/1 lifelink vigilant thing as aggro isn't bad. So for that reason, in limited, if you have the life gain synergies, this is an easy 4 out of 5. In constructed, I'm gonna put this also at a 4 out of 5. Let's see, because you could do that. I mean, you could run this like the revitalize, but it's gonna take a few revitalizes to get it to work. But yeah, 4 out of 5 there as well. And then you start tapping and making angels. I like it. Oh, look, an easy one, Staunch Shieldmate, 1 mana, 1/3. So you can mutate on this. It's not a human. That's about it. 0 out of 5 both ways. Get out of here. Swift Response. Ooh, well, this is a very nice one. That's just a common too. 2 mana, instant speed. Destroy target tap creature. In the past, we have had effects similar to this, but they've been sorceries, which means, well, it's a tapped, so it probably just punched you in the face, and now you can kill it. Whereas this is an instant speed one where it's about to punch you in the face, and then apparently you kick it also in the face. There's a lot of face stuff going on, as you can see. So this card is premium removal in limited. 5 out of 5, absolutely. This potentially, like, you might want to first pick this thing. Like, if it's between this and that little idol of, like, you know, getting things back from exile or whatever, to hell with that thing. Grab this. Oh my goodness. This could definitely see some standard play. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say, like, 5 out of 5 in standard as well, in constructed. This is so very nice that you don't have to be punched first, and it's very, very cheap removal. Like, consider, you know, Dismember, was it? Or, yeah, whatever, Cast Down was the card, which was like a very, very highly played card just for removal. This doesn't have that restriction of, like, you know, being however strong or however weak or, you know, whatever color the thing is. It just has to be tapped. It doesn't even have to be attacking you, it just has to be tapped. Okay, Tempered Veteran. 2 mana, 1/2. You can pay 1 and tap it, put a counter on something that already has a counter, or you can pay 6 and tap it and put a counter on something. Oh, look at that, it's a mana sink. Oh, constructed 0 out of 5, get out of here. It's so slow and bad and clunky. In limited, I mean, once you get it started, it's cheaper to keep it going, but... And there's a chance something is already going to have a counter on it already, but... Really? I mean, just base it off of a 2 mana 1/2. It's actually really, really bad. So for that reason, 0 out of 5. I hate this card. I hate this card so much. Okay. Valorous Steed, 5 mana 3/3, Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, make a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. solid card. I see nothing wrong with this. It's not going to see any play in standard just because it's so slow. It's a 5-mana card, but the design of it is perfectly fine. For that reason, I'm going to say it's probably like a 3 out of 5 in limited, but in standard 0 out of 5. It's just too slow. This is a card. This is a card. This is like friggin' Thalia's Chariot, I swear. Vryn Wingmare. 3-mana, 2/1 flyer. That sounds pretty bad. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. So this is a very, very curious card. Like I said, for those that don't know, Thalia is a 2-mana, I think it's like 2-mana 2/2, 2-mana, whatever, choose a human, that has that same non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast effect. So that's just why she is seen quite often in, you know, human decks back in older formats. So what do we think about this? In limited, I'm going to put this at like a 2 out of 5 there. There's a chance that it kind of works out for you, and obviously you're not going to want to play any non-creature spells if you're playing this card, especially in multiples. But since limited is largely dominated by, you know, creatures running into other creatures, and I have bigger creatures, therefore I win, I wouldn't really put a whole lot of value into it, but it is also a flyer, which is nice. In constructed, sideboard card, certainly. I would never mainboard this thing because I just wouldn't. Like, the reason you can mainboard Thalia, which has the same effect, is because it's cheaper to play and just has better stats, and it's just good that way. But this doesn't quite get there. So I'm going to put this at a 2 out of 5. I know people are going to try it for a little while, and like it's going to see some play, certainly, but I don't think it's going to be that effective at what it does. Warded Battlement. So 3-mana 0/3 is a wall. And attacking creatures you control get +1/+0. So people compare this to, what is it, Glorious Anthem? The 3-mana, all your creatures get +1/+1. A very similar thing here, just on the attack it goes through, it costs 3, but it puts a creature on the board. Even though it's just a defender, it puts a creature on the board. It does something, it establishes something, instead of just like, here's an enchantment that gives you devotion, I guess. So this is cool. This could somewhat reasonably actually see play. I like this just like in general. So for that point, it's weird because it's statted more aggressively, but also it defends things. So it's just like, okay, you're gonna be aggressive, but you're gonna be blocking. Your creatures are probably gonna die as well. In limited, I'll put it like a 2 out of 5, just because I don't really think that great. In constructed, I'm gonna put this at a 1. Maybe if you're aggressive enough, you can play this thing instead of the thing, or maybe you play 4 of each and just try to have the auras for everything and get all the buffs and go crazy. But I'm not really too keen on it. And that's it. We got the Alpine Watchdog back. We're there. There's Bash Riquette. He's all like, yes, you are finished. And then he drops the axe on me. So thank you very much for staying with this. I know it took a little while. I'm trying to go through these things faster. Obviously, I did not get through it faster with the mono white. Hopefully with the next card reviews, I'll be a little more fast-paced. But thank you very much again. Feel free to, you know, do whatever it is you want to do. Stay tuned. Hopefully you tune into my just watch the early access streamer event. Don't have to watch my stream. Watch someone's stream, and you'll get a good idea of how the cards are doing, and you'll see some cool stuff. You know, some cool new cards, new plays, whatever. Hopefully everyone's doing well, or happy and healthy and safe. And without further ado, good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck.